The NFC West is headed for a showdown, and one team's aspirations for a Super Bowl are put to rest like an old gunslinger in his last duel. I'm talking about the San Francisco 49ers. Their Super Bowl window is closed. The 49ers are headed for trouble with an underlying problem most people don't see: bad coaching decisions. Yes, we'll get to the nitty-gritty, but it wouldn't be an NFC West video without the Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks. We'll go over their weaknesses, strengths, and I'll predict their ceiling and floor. You don't want to miss this episode. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by next June. Let's hit it. Let's kick it off with the birds down in the South. The Arizona Cardinals last season saw a team that looked like it was headed for the dumpster in some stretches. Other stretches, purely great football, making all Arizona Cardinals fans unafraid to leave the house.
Do you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore.
Kyler Murray had 27 big-time throws, 3 fourth-quarter comebacks, and showed promise that he can still deliver it. He's only 27 years old. Marvin Harrison Jr. showed flashes of that potential. 8 touchdowns, only 1 drop. James Conner, I owe you some respect. You are the most underrated running back in the NFL, a 90.6 overall grade, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 68 missed tackles created. Despite all of the positives, the team went 8-9. They had a brutal early schedule. The Lions, the Bills, the Commanders, and Packers, who were all playing playoff football in January. The intermediate throwing game just wasn't there, relying on dink and dunks or trying to go for it all. The corners ranked 27th. The defensive line could not get any pressure. James Jones had a horrific grade, a 30.2. Only 2 defensive linemen were worse. He had a total of 3 pressures, 0 sacks. Despite that 8-9 record, there's a lot of hope going into 2025. They doubled their win total from 2023. They drafted Walter Nolan in the first round. He's known to absorb double teams. That should help a lot. If he can develop, that'd be pretty good. Also, Calais Campbell's coming back. He's in his late 30s, but he had one of the highest overall grades for a defensive lineman. Dalvin Tomlinson's going to add some depth, and they picked up Josh Sweat from the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, considering everything that I just said, they went out and improved their defense. They got an easy early schedule. The Saints, Panthers, Titans, and Colts, all bottom feeders in their division. And then they've got a few hard matchups. The Rams twice, the Buccaneers, Texans, and Falcons. These teams will all be vying for a playoff spot. If Kyler Murray hits those intermediate throws and Marvin Harrison Jr. develops, James Conner does what he does, this team could win 9, 10 games, and they could go for a wild card spot. But if everything falters, D-line plays poorly, corners play bad, Kyler Murray's just not it, they're having trouble with intermediate throws again, well, they're looking at 6 wins next season, and John Gannon's gonna be fired. Now let's head from the depths of the desert to the northwest of the continental U.S., where the Seattle Seahawks reign, and they're going to look a little different in 2025. Last year, Geno Smith was under center. They were the 8th best passing offense in the NFL. Jackson Smith and Jigba had an 80.5 receiving grade. That's pretty darn good for a second-year player. He had 100 receptions, 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns, and only 2 drops. They were a shaky defense to start the year, but there was one point where they only allowed 14.3 points per game. Leonard Williams in 2024 had an overall grade of 87.1. That's 4th amongst defensive linemen. 11 sacks, 41 stops. He was like a freight train going down the line.
He sounded like a big choo-choo train.
Devin Witherspoon had a 90 run defensive grade, 80 solo tackles. That's 1st in the NFL. Although really good at some points, they were 10-7, 7-1 on the road, but they embarrassed themselves at home going 3-6.
Are you too good for your home?
The first team to go 7-1 on the road in a 17-game season and missed the playoffs. They had one of the worst rushing offenses, 28th in the league, 24th in giveaways. Their offensive line was the cheapest. And when you have a cheap offensive line, you know what happens? You rank 29th in the NFL. They allowed 334 yards to Jimmy Garoppolo on the Rams in the final game of the season. I will give credit to Mike Macdonald because he had the best record as a first-year coach on the Seattle Seahawks. They got rid of Geno. They picked up Sam Darnold, who had a career renaissance, an 80.3 overall grade on PFF, 35 touchdowns, over 4,300 yards, 33 big-time throws, but he had 24 turnover-worthy plays. He's got to clean that up for them to have a chance this season. They went out and got Cooper Kupp to replace DK Metcalf. They did have 11 draft picks. They went out and got Gray Zabel, who's an interior offensive line who can play anywhere on the interior. They then went out and got safety Nick Emenwari. He's a physical specimen who needs to learn how to be more aggressive when attacking the run. One of the more surprising picks, Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. He's a speed demon like a Lamar Jackson, but he's got to learn to be more accurate and more consistent to be an NFL quarterback. But honestly, changes and all, this team does not jump off the page. I still think Sam Darnold was overpaid and needs to show me something. He can regress over the season as we saw last year. Also, Cooper Kupp and Lawrence don't really pop out. This is a team that plays the Rams twice, the Texans, Commanders, Vikings, and Buccaneers in 2025, all playoff teams. If this team can run the ball, has a better offensive line, their defense improves even more, 9 or 10 wins. But with no running game in sight, an offensive line that could still be shaky, Sam Darnold, question marks, this could easily be a 6-win team. The Los Angeles Rams were a team that looked dead on arrival. Started 1-4, but they not only made the playoffs, but took the future Super Bowl champions to the brink if it wasn't for a few incompletions and sacks at the end. Stafford looked pretty spry for an old guy. We both got gray in the beard, but he had 23 big-time throws, 20 touchdowns, and limited playing time. Puka Nacua missed some games, but had 990 yards. Defensively, rookie Jared Verse was really good. 2 forced fumbles, 77 pressures, 56 hurries, 6 sacks, 86.2 overall grade on Pro Football Focus. That was 9th in the NFL. Have they found their anchor on the defense since Aaron Donald retired? We'll see. Omar Spades had a 78.3 run defensive grade and only missed 4 tackles. He was getting a hold of you. You weren't getting away. You got to commend their competitive spirit. There was a reason, though, that they were as bad as they were in the early part of the season. Injuries. The linebacking core was ranked 26th in the NFL. Their defensive backfield was 22nd in the league. Despite Stafford's admirable play, he did have the 8 interceptions and an overall grade of 74.7. That was 25th in the league. This is a team with a lot of talent, but you saw in that first game against the Eagles, they just couldn't stop the run. They made some major gaffes and made some major mistakes in the divisional round as well. That cost them. The Rams did go out in the 2025 offseason to try and make one last run with Matthew Stafford before he retires. They said goodbye to Cooper Kupp. They may have upgraded with Devontae Adams. They're about the same age. They showed no commitment to their first-round pick. Surprise, surprise. And in the 3rd round, they went out and got Josiah Stewart, an edge rusher who they might pair with Jared Verse. He's a little undersized, but did that stop Dwight Freeney from causing havoc in opposing backfields? No, it did not. They brought back center Coleman Shelton to hopefully help out that offensive line that was plagued by injuries. This team made some pretty good moves. It's nothing that's gonna wow you any, but they're solid. They have a middle-of-the-pack schedule. They gotta play the Texans in week 1, the Eagles, a rematch in week 3, Ravens in week 6, and the Lions in week 15. This is a team, if there's no major injuries to speak of, the defensive backs and the linebackers play a whole lot better. They can win 12 games and possibly make the Super Bowl. If nothing meshes and everything goes downhill, well, they're gonna win 8, 9, 10 games. Finally, the San Francisco 49ers, the team from the Bay.
If tried with many have failed, the 49ers got the livest fans in the NFL.
Despite all of their talent, injuries piled up, contract disputes, and inconsistencies doomed the team in 2024. The positives: George Kittle continued his consistency, first in overall grade with a 92.1. Nick Bosa did what Nick Bosa does best: get after the quarterback. An 89.3 pass rush grade, 44 hurries, 10 sacks, 69 pressures. Fred Warner was solid as well, 89.2 overall grade, an astonishing 88.4 pass coverage grade, 4 forced fumbles, 98 tackles. And the other positive, this team could have been a whole lot worse if it wasn't for these 3 players and an offense that was ranked 5th despite everything that went on. And a lot went on. Now, Brock Purdy did his best, but he had 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, only 15 big-time throws to 12 turnover-worthy plays. There's a lot of speculation whether he's worth that contract or not that he signed. Jake Moody just wasn't the kicker that he has been, going 11 for 20 on field goals. They had some key blocked punts, despite what experts say. Special teams is important. Just ask the 2010 San Diego Chargers. Ayuk held out. There were key suspensions, and the Niners may have just missed their window to capture that elusive 6th Lombardi in the near future. They lost some key players. Debo, although he hasn't played well in recent seasons, went to the Commanders. Hufanga and Greenlaw went to the Denver Broncos, and Hargrave left. They went out and got Mikael Williams, who has high upside, but will need to have the snaps to develop. He is playing with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, so he might just do that. Overall, I do like that they address depth at positions where maybe teams left via trade or free agency, and a healthy roster couldn't hurt at all. Here's the harsh reality for you Niner fans. Despite having the easiest schedule in the NFL, why do I feel that their run is over to get that Super Bowl? Factor 1, age and injuries. Trent Williams ain't going to be around forever. He's in his late 30s. Ayuk was injured. Christian McCaffrey is injury prone, being injured in Carolina and San Francisco. Fred Warner broke his ankle last season, signed a massive contract in the 2025 offseason. We don't know where your prime ends anymore. Used to be 30, but 30 could be the new 20. Kittle is also in his 30s. We'll see what happens in the next few years. They got $45 million this year, but next year in 2026, they're only going to have about $8 million because of dead cap and high contract. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying Kyle Shanahan's a great offensive mind and a great quarterback whisperer. But because of his bad coaching decisions in key moments, I think their window's closed. Guess who was the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons? Kyle Shanahan. They were up 28-3. They were running all over New England, and they stopped doing it. They were playing too aggressive. When they were in field goal range and they could have extended the lead by 3 more points, he threw it twice, sack, penalties, you know the end of the story. The Super Bowl against the Chiefs, 2020. No adjustments were made. They kept running the ball up the middle. They were tied at 10 with a minute and 50 plus seconds. No timeouts were taken. He had all 3. They don't try to go for any points. They lose that Super Bowl by 10 points, although 7 of those points were just formality. He had an okay game in that second Super Bowl against the Chiefs until overtime. He received instead of kicking off. They drive down the field on a 4th and 4 instead of trying to go for it. Knowing Patrick Mahomes is on the other side, they kick a field goal, they lose the game. Kyle Shanahan has never been good at managing. We saw this in the 2022 NFC Championship game. It may be an Andy Reid situation where he goes to another team and learns this and wins some Super Bowls. I still have this team competing for the division. They'll probably get the wild card with an 11-6 record if they're not injured. If they're injured and everything falls apart again, it's another 6-11 season. To recap, I got the Rams and the Niners challenging for the division. Rams likely going in first, 49ers going in second. The Cardinals could sneak into the wild card if the 49ers falter with a 9-8 record, and the Seahawks going in last place. You guys think I'm out of my mind, or do you agree with me? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell to see more of NFL analysis without the lowbrow arguments of other sports media. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by June of next year. This is Hilltime Sports. See you later.